the airports and all this.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with Joe's Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I'm joined by my man, beat writer for general assignment reporter for NJ.com, Chris Franklin. Chris, we were talking and I started it without giving you a heads up. My bad.
It's fun. It's fun, man. It's like that. It keeps me toes. I'm ready to go.
So we got a big week. The NFL trade deadline happened. I want to start out with Devontae Adams going to the Jets. What does that mean? Like, what is it? Does that mean the Jets have righted it? Because I didn't know that passing was their issue. So what exactly does that mean?
First off, it was the worst kept secret ever. Everybody knew that Devontae Adams was going down there. Like as soon as I was like, I want a new toy. Like it almost like Toy Story, where he looked like Mike Williams. I don't like this one anymore. Throws it to the side. Come
Yeah.
here. Thank you very much. It was that. But for them, I think it's just more of a matter of them trying to appease Aaron Rodgers. I don't care
Mm.
how often you hear Rodgers saying he had nothing to do with it. Miraculously, the guy you threw under the bus in Mike Williams, he's no longer wanting. And then all of a sudden, the trade is made immediately after that
Yeah.
game in order to bring him in. For them, it's a matter of the play calling itself. You can have, I know they had a lot of drops in this season. Receivers had a lot of drops. But I think for him, it's just a comfort safety blanket for Aaron Rodgers. He knows he's going to get a guy who can reliably catch, and he's hoping that now with the focus on Adams on that offense, maybe some of the other guys won't feel as much pressure to make a play every single play. They play looser, and then you got a more dynamic offense. The thing is going to be, it's going to take a couple of weeks for him to get acclimated to that system again, even though it's got a lot of elements from when they're back in the Packers. But I look at it now. I don't think it's going to make that much difference. It's like they're rushing to be a 9-8 team to get bounced in the first round. Like,
I
why?
like that.
Just why?
I like that. For me, I like that. Rushing to be like they're hurrying and it's like they're speeding to get in traffic. It's back feels like they're speeding to go nowhere. Look, I for me, man, the big issue that I have with or not the issue, I think it says a lot about the organization that you fire your head coach and almost 7 days, 7 to 10 days later, you make a monster trade. It you said it feels like they're rushing to be 9-8. It feels like they don't know what they want to do. Not confused, but they don't have an idea. They don't have a plan. They don't have a vision board. So whatever happens, they're just going with the flow. And those teams usually get lost in translation. And it's not surprising. We see that happen in Oakland slash Los Angeles slash Las Vegas. Always trying to grab at something and hoping that you get something, you bring something back that's going to take you to the next level or change what your picture or outcome is going to be. I actually think Devontae Adams will play well, and I think he'll help them win a game or two. But in the grand scheme of things, will it make them a Super Bowl team? Probably not. I do believe it'll keep them in playoff contention a little longer than if they didn't have them, and I think that's what the fan base would be happy with. I don't know if that's what I would be happy with if I was a Jets fan, but I'm not a Jets fan, so I can't speak to that. But I will say that being in contention and sometimes effort is applaudable. If they, let's and let me take a step back. I'll give them credit for doing something. While I may not agree with the moves, I may not agree with the activity, I appreciate the attempt at it, if that makes sense. I just don't think it changes the balance of power. It gets them on the front page. We get to hear about Fireman Ed and whatever issues he has. But why is ESPN even doing that? Like, I could care less. But
No comment.
and bottom line, I would say that it's something that definitely warrants a double take. And I think that's all they wanted to do. I honestly think that's all they wanted to do. Now, speaking of double take, I want to ask you because I really don't have anybody. And I'm hesitant to ask questions that I don't have an opinion on, but I think it's if you read the room, that's what the scuttlebutt is. Who's a player that you want to see moved? A player you think could take a team. Only moves I can think about are free agency. So I can't think of a trade in the NFL. You would be better at that than me. But what's a player you think could alter the balance of power somewhere?
The thing I want to mention, he's played his heart out for his team. He's done very well. And I think and when you hear the comments he made a few hours ago, pretty much, he's resigned to the fact that he didn't want to leave and now he's going to have to. And that's Raiders defensive end Maxx Crosby. He's
Really?
been stuck. Yeah,
Wow.
he kind of alluded saying he knows he wants rebuilding. He knows like it's a rebuild. He wants to go somewhere that he wants to win. And now obviously ain't the Raiders now because as we talked about Devontae Adams, he's gone. And you had that I thought it was interesting. Mark Davis had that comments about, yeah, Tom Brady can help us find our next quarterback. So you know that it's not Aiden O'Connell or Gardner
Hold on,
Minshew.
hold on. We're not just gonna size those because I didn't know that.
Oh
Said
yeah.
what now? Say what now?
In his statement yesterday, Mark Davis, paraphrasing this one part, but there was it's very close to what he said, saying Tom, even though Tom can't be part of like inside the meetings, I think Tom can help us find our future quarterback. It can help select our quarterback in the future. And to me, that's just like saying, bing, bing. We know it's not Gardner pick your nose Minshew, and we know it's not Aiden O'Connell. So because he's the
Wow,
backup, he coming into that. So obviously
wow.
Tom's going to have some say what's going to happen in that position. Probably next year, more than that, unless they really want to tank again, which I don't think they can do in Vegas because you lose a fan base already there. So I look at that, and I think Crosby just needs to get out. He needs to go to contender. There obviously is one opening now in Detroit after Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, and all of a sudden now that price for a premier pass rusher may not be as much for the Lions now because they can play it against the Jets.
Oh
You know, they
wow.
can try to get Hassan Reddick. So it Crosby wants to go to a winner. I may have heard a rumor. I heard a rumor. I can't substantiate you. It was one. It could have been one of those clickbait articles. I heard such and such was going to trade this. So I mean, he makes sense for the Eagles. I doubt they don't have the room to sign his for his big contract. So long term, but he'd be a nice rental player, what have you. So I look at it. I think Crosby deserves a chance to go playoffs and prove that he can play into the playoffs, deep into the playoffs.
That's a great pull. You mentioned Hassan Reddick. I read that his agent is trying to move it along now that Salah's gone. I don't know if it's one of the young rappers I'm listening to. I'm trying to get him warmed up to. Just give me a chance. It'll make sense. It's Moneybag Yo,
He's
and he's
good,
got
man.
a song "Time Today,"
Yep.
and I got time today. And he
Slip
in
my
the
wrist.
song he says, "Yeah, I don't circle the block, or I don't miss anything." Basically, is what he's saying. Um, I don't think it's a good idea to bring Hassan Reddick back. That that ship sailed, if you will. I don't know if it's been mentioned. I don't know, and I'm sure someone in the organization agrees with me. You kind of don't want to bring that back. Crosby's a great pull. I don't know if he would fit schematically in what they're doing, but usually talent you can make fit, and he can just kind of be a mercenary for 1 year, and then kind of like Chris Long. I don't know if you remember him when he's Super Bowl year. So he could do that role. It would be great to have. And as much as I'm not a Jason Kelsey fan, I can, hungry dogs run faster. So a guy that's got a chance in the division that's kind of floundering. I think the Cowboys are 3-3. The Eagles are 3-2, I believe. So Crosby would be great. Crosby would be nice. He'd be very nice. I just don't know if the Eagles can make that move. I don't know if there's
And
enough. See, as I'm talking, the wheels are spinning in my head because usually those type of trades are done by owners. Usually owners make a call in that time, at least in basketball. The owner will get on the like your GM says, "Hey, I need you to help me get this done. I can't get them to get it done." They call Davis and they say, "Look, we'll trade you Bryce Huff." What is the guy's name that they signed from the Jets? I call him Bryce.
oh, right. So there's a little caveat that came out, and
Okay.
this is two caveats involving Hassan Reddick, which is very interesting. That could play a role in if they want to get somebody else. Apparently, I think the Eagles were calling around and see if they could get Reddick back, but there was a rule that came out saying you
Mm,
can't reacquire via trade the same player for at least 2 seasons. So that puts them out. However, there's something very, very interesting. We were talking about Reddick and the line, like Lions being the team that potentially get him. Well, there it came out. Josina Anderson had this. If the
shout out to
clause in
Gina.
yep, she's great. The clause in that trade is that if Reddick is ever traded to an NFC team this year, that pick automatically the 2026 conditional pick automatically becomes a second. Now all of a sudden you have 2 second-round picks before the trade deadline. Now you can dangle that for somebody else. So
Yeah.
it gives you some maneuverability, and the Jets are
That's
probably gonna be bad then. So it could be like a mid second
so
round pick.
that's a whole lot of if we're fifth and if my mother had this, she'd be my father. Like it's a whole lot of that's too much for me. It's too much for me. Like I like I like the Crosby deal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Crosby. Just somebody that can get pressure on the quarterback and help your defensive secondary. When you see Deshaun Watson moving the field on them, it really hurts your spirit because you believe this team had a chance. So that's a good pull. A guy that I'm thinking about, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm sure he's kicking. I'm sure they're like, let's get him out of there. Bryce Young in Carolina possibly going to the Cowboys. I don't know the ins and outs of Dak's contract, but I know any NFL contract is only good for the year you've signed it. Russell Wilson's got $8 billion in dead cap money. So, I don't know Bryce's contract either. So it's one of those things where you're like, could it happen? Could it not happen? But that's a trade that I would keep an eye on. And also maybe Bryce Young to Pittsburgh. Because they seem every time Justin Fields doesn't complete a pass, they're gonna bench him. Like, I don't know how he plays under that pressure. I don't know how he plays under that. Every time something happens, well, are you going to bring in Russell? And it's just like, dude, like quarterbacks don't win. No quarterback goes 17-0. No quarterback goes 17 except for Tom Brady. But nobody else goes 17-0. So like that that's frustrating. But that's a great pull. That's a great pull on Maxx Crosby. So speaking of guys that we want to see move, what's a team that you're surprised that you wanted to see be successful this year or thought would be successful this year? And you're surprised that they're not doing well.
There's a couple. There's a couple I look at
Good,
that.
because I could only think of one. I really and one not named the Eagles. Put it that way.
Well, I say that was one. There's another one that you're gonna laugh at me when I thought about it. I said I was steadfast. I just knew this team was going to make a run for it. You're like, Chris, don't do it. Chris, don't do it. Arizona Cardinals. And
Oh
I
Lord.
just looked at them. I thought about it. I was like, you know what,
Lord.
Kyler, I
You
thought Kyler
kidding
Murray
me,
saw the
right?
light. I kid you not. I thought Kyler Murray was seeing the light. Even with Jonathan Gannon, I thought the defense would be in spite of him. And I just look at that record, that their record just keep tanking. I'm like, yeah, that wound up being a
That's a
great
bad pick.
take.
That's a
Oof,
bad pick. That's a bad pick.
horrible. I
That's a
also
bad
look
pick.
at the Miami Dolphins. They were a team I really
Really?
saw. Yeah, even with Tua, I looked at that passing offense, and I thought maybe things will be relieved. I mean, we all know how much they hated Vic Fangio when he was down there. Maybe that was that they did. He wasn't getting through to him, so maybe a new voice would help him out. That didn't help at all. You look at Waddle, you look at Hill. It's like that. I think you're floundering. Even with Tua not in there now, that team looks like it's floundering. And I worry about Mike McDaniel's future. I know his seats, to me, his seat's gonna be hotter because you invested so much into there, and it's like teams have figured out his offense. And once they figure that out, it's like you're the offensive guru. You're supposed to make the counters. And even if you have Skylar Thompson, Snoop Huntley, and all that, come up with something. You're supposed to use
Yeah.
mastermind. Come up with something, but you can't do that. That's another team that I look at that. And that, to me, right now, I know it's still early, but the Packers. I know when you look at where they're going right now, this NFC North is a really tough division all of a sudden. You let the Vikings beat you. You let the where for it. The Lions are already in there as well too. And you see the Packers here. I thought the Packers would be 1 or 2. Now you're at 3. Looking at them fighting possibly for like a 7 seed or a 6 seed in
Yeah.
that division. So those are just 3 teams I did. It's almost like one of these teams is not like the other Cardinals, but it looks like those teams are the ones that are really disappointing me.
The Cardinals are you did it to yourself. You did it to
Yep.
yourself with the Cardinals. And it's I told you when you made the pick, I warned you not to do it. I think I called Kyler Murray a DEI quarterback in jest, like
Yeah.
being silly. But it's just never brought into the Cardinals in any way, shape, or form. For me, it was 2 teams. I know I said I had one, but it's 2 teams. The first one is the New Orleans Saints that are playing tonight. 2-4 is unacceptable. 2-4 is unacceptable. We started out 2-0, and while I didn't think they were a 12-win football team, I thought they were at least a 9-win football team. And for them to struggle as much as they have, and now Spencer Rattler's a quarterback, and now they don't know what they want to do as far as an organization, and it's not lost on me that Sean Payton is now in the building right when the ship be sinking. He comes into the building with Drew Brees. I'm disappointed that they're 2-4. Maybe I shouldn't have expected more, but they had a level of expectation. Expectations always run parallel with disappointment. So I shouldn't be confused. I shouldn't be disappointed, but nevertheless, I am. The second one is the San Francisco 49ers. Now they sit 3-3. And I didn't believe that they would be a Super Bowl winning team, but I thought they would be there. I even though I said publicly I thought they would slide, in my mind I said, yeah, it might be wishful thinking. They'll be around. They've struggled this year, and they've struggled in exerting themselves in critical moments. You know, they've lost games. They lost the was it the Rams game towards the end. They still have a certain level of physicality, but it just feels like the toughness that they've used to play with is now more bravado than results. You know what I mean? It's like statistically you're a good player, but on the field or on the court, players know you're just a numbers guy. You're not real. And that's where I am with the 49ers. 3-3. I'm looking at my phone as I talk to, looking at the records. They're still tied with Seattle at 3-3. They're ahead of your Arizona Cardinals. You know,
Hmm.
just real quick, is there another team named after? Is there another team that has a state on them? Like, is there another team right now in the NFL? Because the Carolina Panthers, you don't know, they're South Carolina, North Carolina. There's
Yeah.
no other team that's named after a state other than the Cardinals. Yet and still, you hopped on that wagon again. Yet and still,
Yeah.
you still
I trusted Kyle. I told Marvin Harrison Jr. I was like, this offense can be
gotta
something.
trust them to do what you know what they're gonna do. So, how'd you make out last week on your picks?
2-1. And trusting a team I knew I shouldn't have trusted because I thought they'd be Superman over in London, where they usually are. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they kept me from being perfect. So I'm done. I'm reformed. I've changed my ways. I'm reformed. I've seen the light now. I can't do it. But I will
The
have some
Jags
bad
gave
teams.
me my one win last week, and they're going to give me a win this week. I'll open it up. I got the New England Patriots. I'm taking the Patriots with the points. They're a 6 point dog to the Jags. I'm actually going to take the Patriots in the points. I think that game's going to be close. You're talking about horrid versus abysmal. You know, it's just I like that game, so I'm gonna take New England in the points there, and so I'm betting on the. I'll probably bet with the Jags all year. It's my one easy money pick. It
That's not
is. It's
bad.
like my
Great.
one
Not a
easy
bad way to
money.
do it. It's a great way to do
Um,
it.
yeah, it's listen, man. Listen. It's was it shooting fish in a barrel? Is that what they say? That's what it is
Yeah.
for me. My second game, I don't usually go divisional games, but I'm struggling right now. I went 1-2 last week. I'm sitting at a poultry 3-11, I believe, or like 3-12. It's pretty bad on this side. Pretty bad side. I'm gonna go with Detroit upsetting the Minnesota Vikings. Detroit is a point and a half dog. I Detroit is riding high right now, and I don't know where they're going to finish the season, but I just like the cut of their bridge right now. And a point and a half to me screams that no one believes in the Vikings. The Vikings had a big win last week, divisional game, a team that wants to kind of seize the division. I think you got four teams in that division, all with 4 wins. No, Vikings got five. So you got 5-0, 4-1, 4-2, 4-2. Detroit needs to get this win to avoid falling 2 games behind. I like the Lions. And then finally, as I talk about them struggling and surprising, San Francisco 49ers losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. No way they beat Patrick Mahomes. No way. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Not that team, not that day, not that team, not that day, not on that field. No. I like Mahomes. He's that dude. Point and a half is nothing. And I wouldn't be surprised if it by kickoff time it's a pick 'em. So I'm going with Patrick Mahomes against the 49ers. What say you?
I'll start with the one you picked already when it comes to the Lions and the Vikings. I agree with you. I really think that the Lions could beat the Vikings in terms of
Now I'm
I see this
concerned.
as a rallying cry. I think this is a time where Dan Campbell gives one of those kneecap type speeches, the ones where he says, you know what, we don't have Aiden anymore. We can still do this. It's probably going to be a shootout. I can see Justin Jefferson having his way against that Lions secondary.
Mm.
But I could also see the Lions putting up a lot of points where they have so many weapons. And as much as Brian Flores has done a great job with this Vikings defense, I just don't see how he can stop all of those weapons. You just got a whole Sam Darnold turns the clock runs out and the pumpkin turns the carrot turns to a pumpkin on him because you need him to turn the ball over 2, 3 times. I just don't see the way he's playing right now. He's not going to do that. So right now, I agree with you. The Lions have the what take the Lions to 1.5 points of that. The next one I have only because of where the line is right now, 3.5. I see the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons about pretty even right now. I'm taking
Yeah.
the Seattle Seahawks with the hook. That 3.5. If it was three, I'm probably saying wait for it. 3.5. Yeah, I'll take that. I just look at the wide receivers in Geno Smith. I know they're struggling right now, but I look at those weapons that Geno has going against that. I think they have enough to overcome Jesse Bates and the safe Justin Simmons as well too. I think there's a lot they have there that can do that. So I'll take the 3.5 just because I think it'll be a field goal or less game. So I take that there. Thank you for the half. I'll take that every day. Now this
Where's that
one,
game at?
I want to say it's in Atlanta. I want to say Atlanta. I want to say. Don't check.
No, that is awful. You want to say Atlanta? Yeah,
I
okay.
want. I
I
want to
can
say
double
something.
check it. It's no big deal. I'll check it now.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's in Seattle, I actually think that's a good pull. I don't like Seattle, so I stay away from Seattle personally.
I
It's Seattle's tough to believe in. No, it's in Atlanta. So yeah, I wouldn't that's why I didn't touch it. That's why
yeah,
I didn't
only
touch it.
because
So
that
that game's in Atlanta.
only because that number. That's what I'm like. Okay.
Yeah, but bro, when you go to Atlanta, especially from Seattle, I was in Seattle 2 weeks ago. Trust me, you are excited in Atlanta. Like you are, the game is the last thing on your mind. Seattle is so, but go ahead. You got one more left.
Lemon pepper wings and Lou Williams. Wink, wink, nudge,
Yes,
nudge.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You laughing, but I'm so sincere. See, here's what players will do, and you next time you're in the locker room and off the record, ask them when they go. I think AJ Brown kind of alluded to this a little bit. When they go on the road, they don't go out to the clubs anymore. They bring the club to them, and they go to another hotel off the site where no one knows. There's 3 or 4 guys, and they bring it all to them. Lemon pepper wings all day. Nobody will know. Nobody will know. But Seattle just doesn't look like they've got legs. They just look like they're searching for their legs. They look lost. They're not ready for Atlanta. They didn't come out ready to play because they're dog dead tired. So
Well,
maybe they fly in late, so they don't have time to do it. But I doubt it because it's Seattle going into Atlanta, so you got to leave at a certain time. So yeah, I wouldn't touch that one. Just me though. Just me.
remind me to tell you off air the story about the time in Carolina and Charlotte. I'll just leave it at
Yeah.
that. I'm tired of that. The other
That's
one
how
I'm
it
looking
goes.
at.
Like I haven't been in a locker room in a long time. And I haven't been around a professional player probably in a year or so. But one thing I know hasn't changed. With new social media and the ways to interact with people without anyone ever knowing, players do it all the time, man. They bring them they get an off team hotel. They're going out to dinner, and then they come back and the parties at the Stay Bridge. You know what I mean? And nobody's any the wiser. They tip the maid, call Diddy up. But anyway, so go ahead. I said it. I said it.
Oh goodness. The final one that I have, see that there, it's a stinker. I'm going to flat out say it's a stinker. It's a division game, AFC North, the Bengals and the Browns. With
Ooh, I'm
no
curious to see where you go with this one.
with no Amari Cooper,
Mhm.
they can't keep up in a shootout. I think the Bengals win it. Bengals are favored by one in Cleveland. I gotta go with the Bengals on this one. Even if you say you look at the defense, Miles Garrett, I know he can jump and everything else. I know he's being hampered by that lower body injury. Didn't look at that when he blocked that field goal. Sure looked all right. Other than that, I just don't see. Yeah, I know you're like, what are you doing?
No,
I
when he
just don't
blocked
see.
that field goal, it was a mess. It was a
Yeah,
mess.
yeah. I look at the Bengals. I just see them. Cleveland, Deshaun Watson is just bad. He's missing open receivers. He's missing the gimmies. He's missing as well too. That offensive line. He's the most sacked quarterback. The offensive line is porous. Even the Cleveland Browns or the Cincinnati Bengals were having issues with a pass rush. They could probably get pressure on this one as well too. I gotta take the Bengals -1.
That game is another game I looked at. I can't tell though if the Bengals are a bad football team or they're just not a motivated football team. If that makes sense, I can't tell if it's scheme or skill. And they've got Jamar Chase, who is an elite wide receiver. I got that, and I don't want to put Joe Burrow in the top 5, but I would say he's one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league as far as throwing the ball. But you would think, you know what they're like? They're like the Memphis Grizzlies. So when Memphis, before Ja Morant got hurt, and Memphis was playing the Lakers. No, they were playing the Warriors, and John Moran gets hurt. The next year, they were the number 2 seed, I believe, in the Western Conference, and they lost to the Lakers. And the reason they lost to the Lakers is because Memphis behavior was if they had won a championship. Like they felt like they had a championship, whatever about them. Go further back when the Clippers signed Kawhi Leonard, and it was the Clippers' time. You fast forward, that's what the Bengals kind of remind me of, as I say it. A team that thinks they've arrived and they haven't even left their house yet. Like they think that they're the best team in their division, and they're not even mentioned amongst the best teams in their division. Like they're so bad, they're not even a disappointment. You and I didn't even consider them a disappointment. Think about it. They've got a healthy quarterback. They've got a healthy Jamar Chase. They've got a supposedly a good coach's actor. But not neither one of us said, "Oh, that's a team that's disappointing us." We just kind of glossed over. And they're one in what are they? 1-4? They're 1-4 football
Oof,
team.
yeah.
You
Giants
got to
too.
think about it. I'm almost certain they're one. Well, we'll double. I'll check. I'll
Two and
circle
four,
back
yeah.
and check it. But they're a bad football team, and there's no doubt about that. Yeah, they're 2-4. Cleveland's 1-5. So it's shocking to me now that I've say this out loud, but they are another product of that type of attitude. Like I said, they act like they arrived and they haven't even left their house yet. They went to the Super Bowl a few years ago. Dude, the quarterback that they lost against isn't even in the NFL anymore. Like, think about that. At
Yeah.
first, you laugh because you think of the context, but just put it on its surface. The quarterback they lost to isn't in the NFL. He's been retired for what, 2 years now?
Yeah. Oh,
So
it's time flies.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
maybe, but the point is that he's so what are they holding on to? When were they good? When did they cut down the nets? The proverbial cut down the nets. They have it. So yeah, Cincinnati, and I can't decide if it's skill or scheme, but I know that team is not a good football team. It's no, and I guess the five Ys are overrated, but man to man, it's just not a good football team, and I can tell. You know what I mean? And they still, I don't even think they've even broached the topic of signing Jamar Chase. You would
I
have you heard anything?
haven't heard anything either. It's just also the Bengals who are cheap as you know what. So
Well, part of it is cheap. Part of it is they don't have the money. So they've got to make time to, the Rob Peter, was it Rob Peter to pay Paul? They got to find a
mhm.
way to do the same thing the Raiders go through. If Max Crosby, I that would be an interesting pull for the Eagles. That'd be an interesting pull. They got to do something. They got to
Yeah.
do something quickly. We've got 9 minutes left. Speaking of teams that have to make a move, got to do something. For me, it's the Eagles. I've already let the cat out the bag. They've got to do something on the defensive line. Huff is an embarrassment. Sirianni is like, guys are coming up to me, telling me they miss me. They're tough to watch right now. They're like, I'm full of analogies today. They're like the kid that's trying to learn how to parallel park on the street in live time. That's what it's like watching the Eagles right now. They're like the kid that's trying to learn how to parallel. You're like, oh, geez. Oh, yeah, he's going to have to bring that back out. Because space is this big. It's like, you got this much talent, Nikki. Make it happen. But yeah, so for me, it's the Eagles. They've got to bring in a quality. It'll make your D tackles better. It'll make your linebackers better. You'll get some interceptions in the back end. They've got to do something on the defensive line quickly. Your team that's got to make a move.
I say the Baltimore Ravens, and I look at they need to get another offensive weapon because Mark Andrews. I think they
Mm.
banked a lot of Mark Andrews. He's just not doing it right now this year. And you could Lamar can run around all he wants. He can throw the ball, try to. He can't carry his team week in and week out. And this North, any other year, I know the North is kind of that. They have a legit chance to get the 1 seed, I think, because you can feed on the Browns. You can. This team should feed on the Bengals. And I think the way it's currently constructed, even though they're hedge of water, this team should feed on the Steelers. And this could be a very weird year for them to really basically run away with the North. And you don't, as for the Ravens, they don't get these opportunities very often. You have a weak Chiefs team, in my opinion.
Mm.
Everybody else right there. If you just get one offensive weapon, it doesn't have to be Amari Cooper type or just somebody who's reliable. Somebody who can just say, you know what, I know he's going to beat the sticks on a third down, third to keep drives alive. I know this person is going to be where he needs to be in the red zone. That's what they don't need another tight end because Lord knows they have a billion of them. I think somebody who's just born right now is going to be a future Ravens tight end. They have enough tight ends. They need another wide receiver to go Zay Flowers and then really be they can really take them to another tier because if they do that, I think this could be a very good year for them, a deep run year. Maybe they get back to the Super Bowl. Who knows?
Mm.
Maybe. But that's a
Yeah,
team that really thinks can do something.
I don't think they need more weapons, Chris. I think they need to use Derrick Henry and stop trying to be something they're not. I I agree with I agree with the what was it? I agree with your premise, but I disagree. No, I agree with your conclusion, but I disagree with your premise if I said that right. Adding
Yeah.
another weapon, they need to be better offensively, which is your premise. So your conclusion would be that they need to add somebody. So I agree with your premise, disagree with your conclusion. Went all around like this is radio. Anyway, point is they have to use Derrick Henry. They want to be. They're in it. I'm full of analogies. No more analogies. They want to move fast, but they're not a fast team. They want to pass the ball, but they're not a passing team. And I understand them trying to work the kinks out so some come playoff time is second nature, but just be who you are, man. You got to be who you are in this world. And they are a physical, smash mouth, snatch your soul out team. They've always been that way. And now they want to be out here throwing the run and shoot offense around. And it's bad. But I agree that they've got to be better offensively. I just don't think adding another attack that's going to make them try to do something that they shouldn't be trying to do is a good idea. So that's where I said that. For me, it's the Eagles, fuse the Ravens. Our picks this week. Hopefully, I can squeeze out an undefeated week. If not, probably won't though. It'll probably be 1-2. But good luck to you, 3-0.
I have a feeling that ain't happening, but I was throwing them up there. This is a tough week, man.
Sending positive energy. This is one of the easier weeks. We've had bad weeks. He's Chris Franklin. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, we appreciate your time and your ear. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, anything your podcast platform allows you to do. And as always, we'll see you next week.